morning again, county government. It's good to see you. The first thing on our agenda is me introducing my friend and board member, the Honorable Brandon Ellison, the best judge in Polk County. Would you welcome?
Thank you, JB. You know, I need to stay on your good side after that story you told about Chris yesterday. You know, I look out over the room and I see a bunch of public servants. I see just a bunch of very experienced, talented leaders. And I just hope the people back home see what you do for them. And I know if you're making it look easy, they think it's easy, that you're doing a good job. I see a bunch of people working hard for the people they work for. And I think the future of Arkansas is in a good place right now. We're all blessed to be selected, to be in the positions and places we're in. God's put us in the most beautiful and glorious location on His green earth. As we go through our urgent daily duties, it's important to remember that we all really want the same thing for the people we work for, and that's to promote a better quality of life while staying within our financial means. And as leaders, we should remember that any conflicts that may arise can be resolved through civility, compromise, and the understanding that we're all working for the same thing. I'm honored and I'm unworthy to introduce a man that needs no introduction. His good reputation and obvious qualifications precede him. A three-time congressman, he was appointed by President Reagan as the nation's youngest U.S. attorney. He has served as the director of the Drug Enforcement Administration. He was the first undersecretary of the Department of Homeland Security. He's a family man. He's married to Susan for 41 years. They have 4 children and 5 grandchildren. Since taking the helm in January, he's been busy shaping policy to make Arkansas more business friendly. And because he is attracting more business, he's put in place measures to prepare our workforce, such as computer science requirements in our high schools. He is a leader with a thoughtful and measured approach. Please join me to welcome my friend, the 46th governor of our great state of Arkansas, the Honorable Asa Hutchinson.
Like that, I'm always looking to the left to see who's sneaking out the door. What an amazing group, and Brandon, thank you for the introduction. I have to update that introduction though, because you said my wife and I have been married for 41 years, and I want you to know that 2 days ago we celebrated our 42nd wedding anniversary. First Lady has weathered that much better than I have. She looks terrific, and I'm very proud of what she's doing. And welcome to Northwest Arkansas. I see friends from Fort Smith, where I spent 19 years. Of course, now I'm in Central Arkansas. I've fallen in love with the Delta. The state is so incredible, but this is my home territory. I actually went to high school in Springdale. Graduated from Springdale High School, and my grandson, who's now 6'4", will be playing basketball for Harvard High next year. So those are the connections to this neighborhood. And I'll never forget growing up in Gravette, my first hometown, and then graduating from high school in Springdale. But when I was in junior high school here in Springdale, President Kennedy, and I know you all are way too young for this, encouraged everybody in the country to take a 50-mile hike. And so I'm in junior high school, and I get inspired by the President of the United States. So my brother and I hiked, took a foot race from Springdale to Gravette, which was really just about 37 miles, but it seemed like 50. But you know, it just illustrates, though, to me, people respond to leadership. And that was a junior high young person seeing the president asking our country to do something, and people respond. That excites me. And you know, whether you are a county official or whether you're governor or whether you're president, we have a responsibility to lead, to set an example, and we should never forget people follow those examples. And that should get you excited about leadership and the opportunity that's presented to us. I wanted to recognize all the legislators that are here. I've seen a number. If you would stand up, please, if you serve in the Arkansas General Assembly. Give them They've done an incredible job. And as governor, I'm going to stand up here. I'm going to talk about all the good things we've done. And guess what? The good things that we've done could only be a gleam in my eye if the legislature does not make it a reality. And they have done that. They've responded. They've worked together on a whole host of issues that impact you, but impact our entire state and our economic development. I did want to mention Doug Smith, who's my liaison with our county officials. Doug, everybody knows Doug, and he's gone through a conversion from a cowboy hat to a tie. And doing a great job for me, and I'm proud of his work. I've mentioned the legislators. I wanted to talk about, you know, as you know, my whole focus as governor has simply been to grow the economy of this state. And you grow the economy, you create more jobs, you develop our system economically. And you do that because if we can grow as an economy, if we can create more jobs, then we all of a sudden have more revenues for our highways that we're working on. We have more revenues to meet the needs of our county government, our municipal governments. If your concern is education, all of a sudden, if we're growing the economy, we actually have more revenues that can meet the needs of our education adequacy system and goals of this state. We can pay our teachers more. And so my view is grow the economy, and all of a sudden, all the things that we want good for Arkansas can start to happen. And so I do have that as a focus. I'll continue that. And that brings me to opportunities. Whenever you're focused on job creation, I've been to Helena. Announced, I think it's 42 jobs with a new environmental company in Helena, Arkansas. Takes me to Clarksville, Bear Brand Hosiery expanding, going to Conway. It was exciting to see 3 tech companies in Conway that were expanding. We announced that, you know, about 4 months ago, and all of a sudden I read they're expanding again. Those are the kind of expansions you like. But when you're making these announcements, it also brings you to small towns like Magnus. Y'all know where Magnus is? It's a town of 200, Judge, up in northern Arkansas. And so I go to Magnus because we're announcing a feed mill located in Magnus, Arkansas. Small towns can do things. And this feed mill is there, and I tell you, we went to this town of 200. You had the United States Senator there, you had the governor, you had the congressman there, you had all of the local officials, everybody that was anybody was in this town of 200, and we all got up to make speeches. Well, the mayor stole the show because he got up and made his speech, and he says, I've only been mayor 6 months, and look at all of these people I brought to Magnus. And he sat down. What more can you say? If it happens on your watch, take credit for it. But we are making progress in Arkansas. In the legislature, we passed the middle class tax cut, focusing on those making between $20,000 and $75,000 a year, the sweet spot of Arkansas's economy. All of a sudden, they have more money in their pocket because of a tax cut that will go into effect, the largest reduction of our income tax rate in Arkansas history. That'll help drive our economy forward. And the introduction was mentioned by Brandon, my computer science initiative. And talking about leadership, you know, it's a challenge. I went to Germany for the Steel Show, and I went to SAP, a software developer, a world-class, thousands of employees developing software, and I was telling them about the computer coding initiative in Arkansas, where we, for the first time, and the only state that mandates computer science or computer coding to be taught in every high school. And it will be offered in your high school, in your community, next year. So I'm telling them this, and they think, man, that is fantastic. We're actually sliding away from it in our local community in Germany. And I said, why? And he said, well, because we were teaching it, but all of a sudden the teachers realized that the students knew more about this than they did. And they were intimidated. And so we've got to encourage our teachers, we've got to encourage our young people to take the risk to go out, because this is a large part of the future of our economy. Whether it is agriculture or whether it is industry, it is about software. In manufacturing, it's robotics that depend upon software. If you're in agriculture, what determines how much water you give to your crops? In many instances, it is software to maximize the growth of the crop and minimize the water that has to be used. In every field, it is software, computer coding. We need to develop our young people for the jobs of the future. And so I was greeting some academic scholars at the mansion, taking pictures with all across Arkansas, these young scholars, and one of them was accompanied by a teacher. And the teacher said with great pride that we are offering computer coding and I'm teaching it next year. This teacher was about 50 years old. I said, what possessed you to learn computer coding? And enough of it to teach it. And she said, I did it because the governor said it was important to the future economy of our state. Is that not an incredible story? It reminds me of, again, leadership. And so people are responding. We've got to encourage them. And you have grandchildren, you have children, you know people who are going to high school. Encourage young people to look at the computer coding for next year. We have over 1,200 high school students already signed up for computer science next year. So great opportunity for us. But we've also concentrated on job skill training in every arena, whether it is carpentry or whether it is welding, to train a workforce that matches with jobs of the future and help us to bring in industry into this state. But also, I'm making calls. The first day on the job, I called 6 CEOs and said, would you consider bringing your business to Arkansas? I've continued down that path. Yesterday, I drove up from Little Rock here to Rogers on the way up. I was making my calls, and I called a CEO in Canada, asking them to consider locating their business here in Arkansas. We're going to continue to do that, and that makes a difference as well. And so I'm concentrating on job creation and economic development. I'll continue to do that. But guess what? As governor, a few other things pop up on your radar screen. And so we're addressing those. During the legislative session, we advocated for local control. And whenever there's a bill in the legislature that says everyone ought to be able to carry a sidearm when they go into the courthouse, we changed the law, we changed the bill to make sure that is okay with the approval of the local forum court. Do you all like that?
Yes, sir.
I think that's the right decision. And the reason is that whatever issue you're talking about, you know more about your courthouse than we do in Little Rock. And we need to listen to you. We need to give that flexibility, that local control. As someone that's been in Homeland Security, I recognize that in your courthouses, every courthouse is different, every environment is different. You need to be able to provide that guidance. And yes, we also raised the reimbursement rate for our counties from $28 to $30 whenever you have state prisoners in your custody after they've been sentenced. That was something the legislature supported. It was the right thing to do. We do have a challenge with our county jail backup that is not ended. But let me refresh you just a little bit to give you some encouragement and hope. And I'm not sure if you've heard this, but I'm going to reiterate it. I'm going to reiterate it to a lot of audiences, particularly our county officials. But we have about a 2,500 backup in our county jails right now of state prisoners that are waiting assignment to our state prison. But whenever I made the announcement during the legislative session, you remember we were considering a $100 million new prison facility, $100 million that would take care of about 1,000 prisoners. And so I said, let's look at options for expansion. We started out with opening up 574 beds, And then we've got another 178 beds that will come online January 1 of next year. And then I just asked the legislature to approve $7.2 million that will open up another 200 beds in 16 months. All total, that will give us 952 new beds in prison, and that will be at a total cost of less than $50 million versus $100 million. I think that was a good decision that the legislature supported and made happen. And then in addition, we can take another $14 million to give 500 new beds for reentry program. We could give $1.2 million for alternative sentencing courts. And so we're not only investing in new prison space to relieve the overcrowding in our county jails, but we're also trying to take action that will change behavior of those on parole and those that are trying to make changes in their lifestyle, give alternatives to sentencing for nonviolent offenders so that we do not continue building new and larger prisons infinitum down the road. No guarantee that any of this works, but it's a plan in place that we're going to work day in and day out to make sure that we put it in place. We ask for your help and patience in this, and I do believe we have a great chance of changing behavior and changing the direction of incarceration in Arkansas. So these are some of the things that we're working on, but other things pop up from time to time. I realize as life goes on that, and as I've served in government and you understand this, that while we want to solve problems, that's the nature of public service. You take on a problem and you try to solve it, but that you need help in getting it done. And so we're calling upon the private sector in two particular arenas to help us out. And that is in those that are looking for a first chance, I call it. Those that are needing foster care, and there's not enough foster families in our system to take care of all of those that are in need of foster care. And this is one of those problems that money does not solve, because no matter how much money you have, if you don't have enough volunteers that are willing to take in foster children, then we can't solve the problem. So we're looking for more assistance. And so I've called upon a faith-based summit in August that will bring together our churches, our faith-based organizations, our nonprofits, and say, you are doing a lot in foster care and other social programs, but we ask you to look at doing more to help us to solve this challenge in our state. So it's for those looking for a first chance in foster care and to get the right start in life. But we're also looking for those that are looking for a second chance. And we have a recidivism rate in Arkansas in excess of 40%. Those that are coming out of prison, over 40% will wind up back in prison. This is the cycle we would like to change. And some of them that come out look for a job. If they don't have an opportunity for a job, they have limited opportunity to provide for their family, and that increases the chances that they're going to go back into crime. It's never an excuse, it's never a reason. But as a society, we can encourage employers to hire ex-offenders in the appropriate circumstances. If we can help through our faith-based organizations, those coming out of prison to get a driver's license, to re-enter society, to be retrained and have a better chance of getting a meaningful job, then we have the best opportunity to give them a second chance to reduce the opportunity for them to go back to prison. That's the right approach for our society, and we're investing in it. Our faith-based summit should help. We already have almost 500 signed up for that summit, and it is in August, so encourage your communities to sign up and list for that. We're doing also just what you're doing, and that is efficiency in government. I'm always impressed with our county officials whenever they have to tighten the budget, when they have to make tough decisions. You're doing that. State government has to do it as well. We put a hiring freeze in place. We put a hiring freeze in place simply to say if a position has been vacant for 6 months or it's become vacant, let's put a freeze on it to make sure we need that position to be refilled, and we want to approve it in the governor's office before that position is filled. And as a result of simply that freeze being in place and having a tighter control over filling these positions, we saved the taxpayers $2.5 million in the last 6 months. Small things in government add up. And so we're concentrating not just on the big picture of growing our economy and creating more jobs, but also on the small things. And those things occupy your time, they occupy my time, and I think they're important for our state. Let me conclude by saying thank you. Thank you for what you do. The assessor's office that's here, is Bear Cheney here? Bear, I want to thank you for your work. I've sort of tested the market here. Bear's one of my appointees. He knows how, he comes for your ranks, he works hard for you. And I've tested the market today, and you're getting good accolades, Bear, so keep it up. But I also look at the service of our county judges and the challenge that you have in the budgets, the treasurers, and managing that. All of you are doing really extraordinary work. The JPs, how many JPs do we have in the audience? If you're performing marriages, make sure you read the Attorney General's opinion. And I want you to know it not only applies to JPs, it also applies to governors. I've got the authority to marry. I haven't done one yet. But that opinion is just an extraordinarily well-written analysis and opinion. And rather than me elaborate on it, I just encourage you to read that. I want to end with this story. And you're going to see that not only my recruiting industry here in Arkansas and across the country by making calls, but I've been to Germany at a steel show trying to talk about how Arkansas, Mississippi County, soon will be the #1 steel producing county in the nation. That's something. We're at the air show talking about Arkansas being an aero defense state. People don't think about aero defense in Arkansas. We have $1.6 billion in exports. Anybody across the globe who buys a Falcon jet flies into Little Rock to pick up that Falcon jet, because that's the final assembly, that's the final place of interior design. Do an incredible job. 1,000 employees there that are going to be growing. Lockheed Martin, the decision will come up in September. I hope that helps us in South Arkansas. Opportunities all across this state. But I went also to California, to Silicon Valley, talking about our computer coding initiative, how we want to be a micro hub for technology development here in the state of Arkansas. And it took me to Facebook. Facebook. I go in there, and it is the most modern, up-to-date facility, all geared toward the techie environment. And so they built a new facility. They have on the top almost a park on their roof where you can actually go up there, take a break, and you can work. They have chefs in there that produce and help keep the talent happy. Flexible workplace, beautiful facility. But then I noticed when I put my hand on the counter that it was rough plywood that had not even been varnished or sandpapered. And I said, what'd you do, run out of money? You couldn't finish this place? And of course they said, well, you don't know the story, do you? And I said, what's the story? And they said it was intentional by design that this new facility, we have left many things unfinished. And we left it unfinished to remind our workers that our job is not yet completed. And so, as was indicated in the introduction, Brandon, well said, we are in a good place in Arkansas. We're in a great place in Arkansas. But our work is not finished as public servants, and it's good to remind us, you've worked hard for a number of years, but our work is not finished. My work is not completed. The state of Arkansas is not finished. The future is exciting. Thank you for being a part of it and what you do. God bless you.